In this video, we're going to go over the software club for November 2022, digitizing in the hoop designs. There was a live stream, it had technical issues, so this is the going through the handout portion. So first things first, I'm on the home screen, I'm going to click on New Design. I have a new blank design open, and we're going to make a raw edge cork coaster first. So first thing we need is for me to set up my workspace better. I'm going to go to Settings, Options, and I'm going to say Show Large Icons and say OK. And now you should be able to see things a little bit better on my screen. Okay, back to the actual lesson. We're going to do an ellipse tool. We want a circle. So I'm going to click in the center, drag out, doesn't matter where I go. If you want a straight line, you can hold Control. It makes me happy to hold Control, but it's not needful. I'm going to click, and then we're going to press Enter because that will give us a circle. I'm going to hit Escape, select my circle, and realize that I skipped a step, and it is supposed to be a single outline. So if you're doing this following the actual instructions, you would select the ellipse tool, select a single outline, and then make your circle. I just moved things around. With my circle selected, I am going to change my width or my height to 4 inches. I only have to change one because I do have proportional scaling locked because it has a nice orange background behind it. So now I have a 4-inch circle. So this first circle is going to be my placement line. It is going to be stitched on the stabilizer. Now I need a tack down line to hold the front of the cork coaster down. So I'm going to go to Edit at the top, Copy, Edit at the top, Paste, change the color. Oh, my color film's not out. Let's get my color film out. Sometimes when you revert things, it reverts a wee bit more than you normally want. There we go. And then you have to put everything back like you like it. So now I have a placement line and I have a tack down line. What we're doing first before we actually make the coaster we're going to make is making a template. So then we can make as many coasters as many different ways as we want. So in actuality, the next thing would be to have more, have our embroidery design, but we're going to instead make another tack down. So we're going to go to Edit, Paste, change it to a third color. So I'm changing mine to green. And for this one, we want it to be a satin stitch. So I'm going to actually open my object properties. I'm going to do that by clicking the object property button. The top middle, it looks like a piece of paper with a red triangle behind it. And I'm going to go to outline stitch, change it to a satin, and I want my satin width to be 1 millimeter. You're not stitching a 1 millimeter satin on cork. That would not work well, but we need it for a second. So we're going to have this, and with that, we can then go to our Cutwork Stumpwork toolbox and say Add Cutwork Border. So it's going to cut. We want it to be 1 millimeter away. We want to make sure Include Holes is not checked. Oh, and because I don't think I mentioned this, how I make sure it's 1 millimeter. So I type 1 mm. No, not that. I mean 1 mm. And then if I hit Tab on my keyboard, it'll go somewhere else and it will automatically convert it because I am in inches. I'm going to say OK. It's added this cut work on the outside edge. So then I can grab my green again and say, no, I don't actually want you to be satin. I want you to be a straight stitch. I do want it to be a little bit thicker, but I don't want it to be super thick. So with my green selected, I'm going to go to my Edit toolbox and I'm going to tell it to double run. So it's going to stitch it twice. It's not a triple stitch, but it's heavier than a single, so it's in between. And this is my template. So to save a template, we go to File, Save as Template. And look, I already have one. I'm going to save over it. So this is a cork coaster template, and we're going to save. Because I already have it, I do get this thing. Do I want to replace it? I'm going to say yes. So let's look at how we can use this template, because you can make a template for any in the hoop design you want. You can also use a template to just set up your workspace how you like it. For an example, that has nothing to do with this, when I was designing quilt blocks, embroidered quilt blocks, I wanted to be able to see 1/4 inch markings, so I changed my grid to 1/4 inch. Every time I opened a new window, I would have to change my grid to 1/4 inch. I made a template that was a 1/4 inch grid template, and then I did not have to change that every time because I just opened my template instead. But I'm going to X out of that, and to open a template, we go to File, and instead of New, we're going to say New from Template. And then we use this drop down, and we say we want our cork coaster template. And say OK. And we now have this template. So there's a couple different ways you can insert your embroidery design. You could just know where it goes, but you can also work through your design to figure it out. And what I mean by that is I'm going to hit T on my keyboard, which goes into design view. And I'm going to start traveling through my design. So I'm going to hit escape, so nothing's selected, and then I'm going to hit home. And then home, every thing turns black because it's like you haven't sewn it yet. So it's like it's there, but it doesn't exist, but it does. I don't know. Then up at the top, this is my travel bar. I'm going to jump by color, and I can just say, okay, I've stitched my placement line, I've stitched my front tack down. This is where I want to put my embroidery. So now anything I start digitizing will be put after those 2 circles. So I'm going to select my second circle in the color film, which is the blue one, and I'm going to copy and paste it. So edit, copy, edit, paste. I'm going to change the size of my circle to be 3.5 inches. And then I want it to have a fun pattern stitch around it. So I'm going to right click on the pattern run icon. I'm going to click select because I don't want to use heirloom, I want something else. I'm going to click on the dark red leaf for true view, and I'm going to change to hobby and sport, and I'm going to select the sewing machine. I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to move this over here because I know what's going to happen, and I'm going to click apply. And my sewing machines are going in the wrong direction. Now, if I hadn't used the ellipse tool, my first thought is to just start over and digitize in different direction. So depending on whether you digitize clockwise or counterclockwise will determine which side of your design or your object that the design goes, that the pattern goes. But it depends on the pattern if it's outside or inside. Like it's one of those things you play with. However, I can fix this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and make it back to be a single and apply. And I'm just going to mirror image it. So I'm going to mirror X. So I've mirrored my circle. Go back to a pattern run, select the stitch I want again, so that sewing machine, say OK, and apply, and I now have a sewing machine going the right way. It's quite large, but it's going the right way. We are going to change the size of our sewing machines to be 0.75 inches, so 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and say OK this time. And my circle is too big because it is because of how it's calculating it. So we're going to change either the width or the height, doesn't matter which, to 3.75. Hit enter. So now it fits better. Now I want a monogram. So I'm going to close my edit toolbox so I can see things better, go to lettering and monogram, and we are going to actually do a monogram just with lettering. So I'm going to right click on lettering, and then you type your initial. I am doing my daughter's, and for font we want to use anniversary. So I'm going to scroll up to anniversary. We want our height to be 1 inch. I'm going to go ahead and say OK and click, and I have my design, but it's not in the center. So what I can do is select everything. So edit at the top, select all. I'm going to go to arrange and select align centers. And because everything's a circle, it all aligns perfectly. And I can go ahead and turn artistic view back on. You can also hit T on your keyboard and you can see how this will stitch out. I do want to change the color of my monogram because I do not want my monogram to stitch at the same time as my back, well, it's back tack down and like seam line. So it needs to not be green in this case. And if I want my sewing machines and my monogram to be the same color, I could change them to just be the same color and stitch all at the same time. But at this point, this is done. This is a monogrammed cork coaster. So File, Save As. And I don't want to save it in the monogramming template designs. That is not where I want to be. I want to go to my embroidery library. And then I'm going to go to my designs. I'm just going to save it here. Save. Okay. So that's the monogram coaster. Real quick, I'm going to go through how to embroider it out now that we have digitized it. So let me pull up that slide or slides. So you're going to have 2 pieces of cork cut approximately 5 by 5. Since this is slightly larger than 4 inches, that will give you about 1/2 inch on either side. She recommends using stable stick tearaway and the large oval hoop. And because we're using the cutwork tool, the 44C foot. So first things first, we're going to stitch our placement line. We're going to put the top layer of cork down. We're going to stitch the tack down and then also the design. Then we're going to remove it from the hoop, flip our hoop over, don't unhoop anything, but flip the hoop over, put the cork for the back on, and tape it in place. And this is a picture done afterwards, because we're putting the cork after the design so that it doesn't show on the back. Then you're going to return it to the machine. You're going to stitch the tack down around the outside edge. So that is the double line here. You can also go ahead and stitch the running before stitch, which stitches before the cut work. What that does, okay, well this works too. What that does is now we have these 2 lines and the cut work tool is going to go in between them. And because it's held down really well, it will get a cleaner cut. So that leads me to, what's the cut work tool? Well, it's an awesome tool. I love my cut work tool. I do use it quite a bit. Mostly for one thing, which is cutting out freestanding structure pieces. So like if you go to the store, there is a castle and it is very sturdy. It is a freestanding applique castle. I cut all those pieces inside by hand, all the Peltex. Noel cut the outside, but I cut the inside Peltex or Fiberform, like in a very stiff interfacing. And I've decided I'm not doing that anymore, and I use my cut work tool instead. It goes way faster, especially at OESD. I'm usually making multiples. So, for example, the gas station for this year that goes with the holiday village or winter village, I think I made 6 of those. So if I can pre-cut any of it, it makes it go faster. But anyway, so what the cut work tool is it's a blade that replaces your needle, and it has 4 positions. So 4 angles that it cuts. So you remove your thread, you replace your needle with the cut work tool. You do have to use a 44C foot, which does come with the tool nowadays. On any modern machine, it will refuse to cut if you do not have a 44C foot. And the machine knows. But trust me, I've tried with a different foot. And you just follow the prompts on the machine, turning the cut work blade. It'll be like position 1, position 2, and it will cut it out. This is the finished coaster. You can see it does have a teeny bit of a jagged edge, but you could go through with small scissors and fix that. And that only matters if you look really close. So that's our finished coaster. Next thing we're going to do is a lined pouch. But before we do the PowerPoint, let's look at the software. So with the lined pouch, first thing, we need a new blank design. So File, New. And then we are going to change our grid. So I'm going to left click on the show grid icon to turn it on, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to change my grid spacing to 1/2 inch, so 0.5 inches. This is where I changed it when I wanted a 1/4 inch grid. We're going to say okay. And she wants us to choose a specific hoop. I'm going to right click on the show hoop icon, and she wants me to change to the BERNINA medium clamp hoop, which I do not have at home. The store has them for sale as far as I know, but I do not have one at home. And my software did not update. And when I went to go check for updates, it was not available. That does not mean I can't use it. It just means it's a little bit harder to design for it. I'm just going to go ahead and choose my maxi hoop because I know I will be the right width of the hoop. The length will be too long, but the width will be okay. And I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Oh, I'm also going to right click on my show hoop icon. I'm going to do a manual hoop position. What that means is my hoop will not jump around. And that makes me happy. That might mean I have to add more instructions to this, but I don't care. I don't like my hoop jumping. So I'm going to select the rectangle tool. So I'm going to go to my Digitize toolbox, rectangle. I want a single outline. And I want my rectangle to be 8x7. But I'm just going to guesstimate. Click, click, escape, select the rectangle. I'm going to unlock proportional scaling. I'm going to change my width to 8 and my height to 7. And it fits beautifully. I am also, because again I have issues, changing my position X and Y to be 0, 0. Pressing enter. I'm going to lock proportional scaling for right now because I prefer to have it locked. And then we're going to digitize our zipper placement line. Now there are quite a few different size zippers, and I recommend if you have a specific zipper you want to use or a specific zipper type you want to use, measure the zipper and see how wide it is. Because a by Annie zipper is going to be wider than a dress zipper. And like a heavy duty zipper is going to be wider than some of the other ones. But in general, zippers are about 1 inch wide. Or at least the ones I always use in zipper pouches. So what I'm going to do is the Open Object tool. I want the single outline. And I'm going to go 3 grids down from the top. Wait. No. Okay, I now understand. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to do 3 grids down. Click. I'm going to hold the control key because I want it to be perfect. I have issues. Click, enter, escape, escape. Okay, so I have this selected. I'm going to make my position X 0. I want my width to be 8. Do I have issues like I want it to be perfect? Yes. I want this to be 2. Enter. And then with that selected, I'm going to copy and paste. So edit, copy, edit, paste. I'm going to click and drag it 2 lines down. And I can see that this needs to be 0 and this needs to be 1. If you move it to about where you want it, and like I know I'm going by half-inch increments, I can figure out what my position X and Y is without really doing much math. And then I'm going to select everything. So edit, select all. We're going to go to the edit toolbox and we're going to apply closest join. And what that does is it makes the jump stitches smaller or non-existent. Sometimes it's non-existent. It depends on how it feels today. So that's our zipper placement line. So what we have right now, if I turn my grid off and I hit 0, I'm going to turn my hoop off. The hoop is really there to make sure it fits, and it fits, so we're good. So I have a overall how big my pouch is, rectangle, and then I have a zipper placement. And that's going to be what stitches first on our stabilizer. So now we want a zipper tack down line. Okay. And yes, I'm still going to add my own flair to this. So I'm going to do an open object, and they want a new color because we do need a color change. I'm going to be about halfway down. Click, click, enter, a new color. Halfway up from the bottom, zipper line, click, click, enter. I'm going to hit escape, and then I'm going to be picky, so I'm going to make my height, my width here to be exactly 8 inches. My position X was pretty good. Position Y needs to be 1.75. Enter. Grab that one. This needs to be 1.25. And I want my width to be 8 inches. Enter. And then it's perfect. I like perfect. I love position X and Y because I can put things exactly where I want them. You can use your arrow keys, but I like my numbers. So right now we have our zipper placement line, and then we have the line that will hold our top fabric of our bag, the line that will hold the bottom fabric. Now we need a line for the back. So I'm going to select my first rectangle. I'm going to copy and paste. So edit, copy, edit, paste, new color. I am skipping over yellow because it's hard to see. And then we need a tack down for the bag lining. So I'm going to paste again, edit, paste. If we have, and we're going to change it. She says color 21. Okay, we can go to 21. If you have separate back tack downs for the bag back and the bag lining, you can turn the bag through the line, a hole in the lining, sew that shut, and then turn it through the zipper so you have a fully lined pouch. However, we need a hole in our lining. So what I want to do is I am going to right click, and part of this is not in the lesson. This is me going off and doing my own thing kind of thing. It's kind of in the lesson, kind of not. But I'm going to right click on my color that I want to see, and I'm going to say hide others. So now I can only modify the outline showing. So I'm going to go to the edit toolbox. I'm going to find the knife tool, and we want to cut a line between, we want to cut this line twice. So I'm going to turn, that doesn't really help. I'm going to start right here. So this is 4 grid spaces from both the center and the left. Click, 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 enter, escape, select that center piece that we just cut out, and delete it. Now, what I like to do is I like to grab this and I go to reshape object. And actually, I probably would have done this slightly differently, but that's okay. I like to make it where it comes out a little bit. So this is something a lot of Martha Sheriff's patterns do, her sewing pattern. She recommends sewing a little bit of a line, and what that helps it do is it helps the lining fabric turn into the opening. So I'm just going to left click to add an extra node, pull that node down a little bit, and then pull this one over. Ideally, they should be about the same, so I can use a guideline to be like, hey, there's the bottom of the where I want it to be. And then I can be really anal. I like to make things as perfect as I can. So it's not a whole bunch, but it's enough to kind of help turn in. I'm going to hit escape, and then we're going to grab this line, and we're going to hold the control key down, and we're going to make it control, no, shift. We're going to hold the shift key down. And we're going to make it slightly smaller than the other lines. So it's right inside the back line so that the back line will not show if anything shifts. Then to get everything back, I can right click on my color film and say unhide all. And this is now a template. So file, save as template. This template is called zipper bag template. And those little lines could be quite a bit larger. Realistically, the lines that go out, I would usually make them about a 1/4 inch long. So it helps get those pieces turned in. So let's add some, let's open our template. So I'm going to X out of that. File, new from template, zipper bag template. Okay. And with this, we are going to select Insert Embroidery. We're going to navigate to our BERNINA Embroidery. And we're going to go to Decorative Accents. And we're going to find FQ157_48. I'm not sure why I didn't see it. I don't know. You can also start typing the file name down here. So let's see what I did. Typed in F. So all it shows is the F's, and then I can find the one I want. And we can open it. And we're going to change the width of this with proportional scaling locked to 3.5 inches. Enter. Making it a little bit bigger. I'm going to move it to the lower left-hand corner of my bag. And to be honest, I would change my position X and Y again to something close to what I am doing, because then we're going to mirror image it. So with it selected, I'm going to go to arrange. No, not arrange, mirror merge. And we're going to mirror merge it horizontally, and we're going to line it up with the center of the hoop and click. Then I'm going to hit escape and select this, and I can see whether I was perfect or not, and I was pretty perfect, but not exactly, and I can make them perfectly aligned. Do you have to do that? No. If you like how it looks, go with it. In all honesty, the amount it was off, no one was going to notice. But I could see the numbers. Then I want to add lettering to the top. So I'm going to go to the lettering toolbox. I'm going to right click on lettering, and I'm going to type in my stuff, but only if I spell it right. And then for font, we are going to do energy. Well, that's not what I want to do. Can't spell anything. Energy. We want our height to be 0.65 inches. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And I'm going to click on the screen to generate. And I want it to be centered, so my X is going to be 0. And then this is where I start playing with numbers. Like, I think that's too far up. It's close to being too far down. I'll probably leave that. But you just want to make it where it looks good. This is where the numbers don't help very much. Although I guess technically they say the Y should be resting on this upper zipper line, so it's close enough. We're going to change the color of that to color number 7. So what we want to do is we want to put things where they go. So we're going to grab my stuff, and we're going to click on back one object, and we're going to go back so that it is, so it makes sense. So we're going to stitch our placement line on our fabric, or on our stabilizer. We're going to have our seam line, which will hold the zipper in place, but also attach the outside upper front and the outside upper lining. And then we're going to embroider my stuff. Then we're going to grab the bottom, and we're going to move it. I'm just going to click and drag, and we want it to be after number 3, because it is going to, we're going to put the bottom parts on, embroider this, and then we want to put the back on, and then we want to put the lining back on. So we're going to go ahead and save this. So File, Save As, and this is my stuff, the zippered bag. So let's see how we're going to stitch that out. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. So you can make a zipper bag at any size and in some ways any shape you want. The most important thing is that the zipper line is the width of your zipper, because if it's not the width of your zipper, it's not going to work well. I have modified zipper pouch and had issues before. But these are what she used for her medium clamp hoop. The medium clamp hoop does fit 7 and 8 series machines. If you have a smaller machine, you will have to make a smaller zipper pouch. But she used a 10x9 pouch back. With that, she needed a lining one, an outer fabric, and a batting. A 9x4 pouch front top. Again, lining, outer, batting. And a 9x7 pouch front bottom, a lining, an outer, and a batting. My caveat is when I make zipper pouches, I like to put what's it called? Fusible woven. On the outside pieces, I like to put fusible woven so it has a little bit more body. If you're using a heavier fabric, you wouldn't need to do that. So she's using her medium clamp hoop. So she has it clamped in place. It looks like she's using a tearaway stabilizer. I would probably use a medium weight tearaway, but she stitches the color 1, which is our placement lines for the bag and zipper. She's going to place her zipper down. So she recommends applying Wonder Tape, which is a double-sided tape that is water soluble, to the wrong side of the zipper. A lot of times I just 505 it, and so I spray the zipper with 505 and stick it down. The problem with that is it is difficult to then pull the stabilizer off right away after the bag's done, because it's like stuck to the zipper. So the Wonder Tape's a great idea. You place the zipper within the placement lines. I always recommend having a larger zipper than you need, and that it has plastic teeth, because we will be sewing over the teeth. And you finger press it into place. Please do not finger press on your machine, because a lot of times there will be nothing behind the hoop right where you're finger pressing, and you can push it through make holes in your stabilizer. I always take my hoop off, lay it on a nice flat surface, and finger press it there. Then we're going to put our fabric on. So we're going to align the top front fabric wrong side down with the edge of the top zipper line. And we're going to tape it into place. And then you're going to flip the hoop over, and you're going to do the same for the lining fabric. And again, you want wrong side down, because if you're used to regular sewing, we want right sides together. Then we're going to return our hoop to the machine. We're going to stitch along that zipper line. So it's going to tack our zipper down, but it's also going to give us that pretty finished front and back for the top of the zipper pouch. Now this is where it gets a little, like, always have to sit here and think about it, but it works really well. You're going to take your tape off of the front. You're not going to do anything to the back. You're going to place your batting along the stitch line. So you're going to just kind of slip it in there. You're going to flip your front up. You're going to leave your lining down. Like, it's not going to be, it's going to be back where it is. You can pin your fabric at the edges. If you do so, please use flat-headed pins because the presser foot won't catch on them as easily. And we're going to stitch my stuff, or the lettering, or whatever you want up there. By not flipping the lining yet, leaving it where it originally was sewn, the embroidery will not show in the inside of the pouch. So then we're going to take our hoop off and we're going to finger press our lining up and then tape it into place because there's no holding it with stitching right now. Then we're going to repeat that for the bottom. So we're going to align our bottom front with the bottom edge of the zipper, tape it in place. Remember, right sides down because we want right sides together. We're going to flip the hoop over, do the same thing. Line the bottom right side down with the bottom edge of the zipper, tape it in place. We're going to stitch along that edge, which will hold the zipper in place, but also give you that nice seam. You'll take your tape off the front. We're going to insert the batting and then flip it down over, and you can pin it into place. And then we're going to stitch the rest of the design. That's at the bottom. And then you're going to flip your hoop over, pull the bottom lining back over the embroidery design, tape it or pin it into place. At this point, I would probably tape. And then the most important thing, because I have done it where this has not worked well, you have to unzip your zipper. If you do not have a zipper head inside of your pouch area, you will not have a zipper head once you cut away the outside edges of your zipper. If you catch it soon enough, you can unsew and get it back where it goes, but no one really wants to do that. So once you have unzipped it, you are going to place your back fabric right side down, because again, we're doing right sides together, on the front of the bag. We're going to place the batting over that. And we're going to stitch around the pouch again. And this is our front, the outside back line. I know we had a line. And then we're going to flip our hoop over. We're going to place our lining right side down over the top and back of the lining. Tape it into place. Do the final stitch line. There will be an opening left for turning. You remove this from the hoop. So at this point, you want to remove the stabilizer. You can't see the zipper. That's not the first step. Zipper's covered. The first thing you want to do is you want to trim the layers of batting close to the stitching. And you want to trim around the bag, leaving about 3/8 of an inch or so. And you want to turn it through the lining. Once you've turned it through the lining, then you can remove the stabilizer from the back of the zipper because you will be able to see it. So in this case, they're showing this. So you turn it through the lining, and then you would slip stitch the edge of this closed. You can also take it to your sewing machine and do a straight stitch close to the edge. And then you go ahead and turn the rest of it through the zipper, so you're turning it twice. And you would press it to give it a nice finished look. And then you have a lined pouch. Okay, so one more project to go. So let's go back to you seeing everything I have open. Okay. Last thing we're going to do is a satin stitched edge card case. So we're going to do a new blank design. We're going to right click on the grid icon, and we want our grid no, she just says left click on. Okay, we wanted to left click on their grid. Okay, cancel. We want to turn our grid on. We're going to right click on the show hoop icon. And she wants the Bernina large oval hoop because we're not going to have a really large card pouch. We also want to do manual centering so it doesn't move around. And we're going to say okay. We're going to select a single stitch from our stitch toolbar, single outline stitch. We're going to go to our Digitize toolbox, select the rectangle tool, and we want to draw a rectangle. And at this point, I don't care what size it is because we're just going to change it. So I drew a rectangle. I'm going to hit escape because I only want one at this point. Select the rectangle, unlock proportional scaling, and we want our width to be 4.4 inches and our height to be 7.8 inches. We're going to hit enter. So basically a height and width that will fit nicely in our hoop. I'm going to hit escape. Oh, nope, I lost that. Select it. My favorite thing, we're going to change our X and Y positions to 0, 0 and hit enter because now it's perfectly centered. I love things perfectly centered. It makes me happy. And then with this still selected, we're going to go to reshape. And I am going to right click in the center of this line. And I'm going to click and drag that down to have a curved edge. I'm just going to drag it down one grid space because I think that's a good curved edge. If you want more of a curved edge, you can drag it down more. I don't think I want that. Yeah, I'm just going to do a slightly curved edge. I'm going to go ahead and hit escape, and I'm going to turn my grid off, which then makes me look at my curved edge. I'm fixing that. I don't like it anymore. It needs more curvy. Reshape object. Make it super curvy. This is a personal preference of how curvy you want it to be. Escape. Turn the grid off. Yeah, I like that better. Now I want to add a monogram, so I'm going to go to the Digitize tool. No. Typo, I found a typo. We're going to go to lettering and monogramming and click on monogramming. It does not live in the Digitize toolbox anymore. However, I also understand that Debbie has been teaching the software for so many versions, that it is very easy to forget when something gets moved. But we're going to go to the monogramming, which will open the monogramming docker. We're going to select the letters tab and type a letter in. I am going to do a C. I am going to change my font. I don't want Eliza. I'm going to choose Erica, which is slightly fancier looking. I'm going to change my height to 0.6 inches. I am not sure what I just touched. I hit enter. Oh, select character. Yeah, that somehow select character came up. Not sure how. I hit enter and it came up. That's what went on. Okay, we want it to be 0.6. And we're going to go to the Ornaments tab. And we're going to say Add. And we're going to add it from Patterns. We're going to be in the Monogramming Ornaments pattern set. And we're going to choose MO19B. And say OK. We're going to click on Advanced. And we want it in positions 8 and 2. It is really weird. It is not generating. Maybe it'll be fine. We're going to go with it's fine. And we want mirrors for the layout style. And we want our width to be 1.7 inches. And proportional scaling should be locked. So we want it to be a little bit larger. And then we're going to use our margin, and we want it to be closer together, so we're going to hit the down arrow. Whoa, not that far. We want them to be closer together. And it says until it reaches -0.2. Hey, look, I did the right thing without reading. Yay! Then we are going to add a border around it, so I'm going to go to Borders. add, I want a diamond border. So I'm going to find the diamond, which I want to say is MB1. No, D00. Oh, I didn't know there was more than one border set. Or at least I didn't know it today. Diamond borders. And we want D0002. Okay. We're going to put a dot next to fill type and change that to a lacework. And then we're going to go to properties, select, and we're going to choose L003A and say okay. So slightly different lacework fill. And then we're going to add a second border, add. And a satin stitch border appears, which is what we want. We want to change our offset to -0.5 so that it will cover up the travel stitches of the lacework border. And I think we're done. So I'm going to go ahead and click off and zoom out, reactivate my grid. And I want to move the monogram 14.5 grid spaces below the top word. Okay, I hate counting. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and a half-ish. Yeah, I like where that's at. I'm going to be special though and make it -3. Yeah, that's good. Then I am going to select my monogram, hold down the control. Wait, no. Okay, yeah. No. We're gonna do this right. Select the monogram, hold the control key, select the outline. Then we're going to go to the arrange toolbox, and we are going to align centers vertically. And because I played with my X and Y's, it didn't move at all. But what we did by selecting the monogram first and then the outline is we said, I want to move my monogram to be with this. So instead of it moving the outline, it's moving the monogram. So it moves the first thing you select. And then with them both selected, we are going to group it. So edit, and nope, that's not design. Arrange and group. You can also just right click on it and group is one of those options. Okay, I'm going to click off. And we're going to add some decorative stitching. So I'm going to right click on the pattern run icon and I'm going to click select. And we're going to use the nature folder. And in the nature folder, we want 114. We're going to say okay. And okay. And then I can go to the Digitize toolbox, select the Open Object tool. And we want to digitize on this line right here. So click. I'm going to hold the control key down, click again, enter. Okay, so I skipped a step. Let's try this again. I'm going to hit escape a whole bunch of times. Make sure nothing's turned off. Actually, I'm going to close my monogramming toolbox because we're done with that. Okay, right click on pattern run. That's correct. Okay. Open object. Apparently I have to select a pattern run. At one point, you could pre-select and it would remember. My software might also just be having a hissy fit. It has been neglected recently. But click and click. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to actually modify this slightly. So I'm going to scooch it up. And then I'm going to look up here. Yeah, that's fine. and then I can actually use my arrow keys to scooch it over a little bit. And then with it selected, I'm going to go to mirror merge, and we are going to mirror merge horizontal over the center of the hoop. So now I have, I hit escape, 2 lines down either side of my card case. And then I'm going to select both of those. So select, hold control, select the other, right click, group. Now we're going to add more decorative stitching because we can. I'm going to click off, I'm going to hit escape a couple times. We're going to open object properties. I'm going to click on that select button. And we want to choose Bernina V5. So scroll up, Bernina V5. And we're going to do NP005-17. And this is a super fun stitch. We're going to say OK. And we're going to say OK. We're going to right click on the show grid icon, and we're going to put a check mark next to snap to grid, and then say OK again. Lots of OKing. We're going to go to digitize the open object tool and see if this time it behaves. And we're going to digitize a zigzag line, and we're only going to use left clicks. So I'm going to start up here, click, and then drop down 2.5. Wait a second. Yeah, 2.5, and then left 2. Click, down 2.5 and center. Click. We're going to keep doing that. I'm just going to stop at the top of my monogram. It might not be perfect, but okay. Hit escape, grab our design, mirror merge vertical. Nope, not vertical, mirror merge horizontal. Center it, click. Do I want to merge the overlapped objects? No. And so I have this really fun, I'm going to hit escape, zigzag pattern. So then I'm going to select both sets of zigzag, right click and group. And then with that selected, and then I'm going to select my other pattern, and then the outline, I'm going to go to the range, and I'm going to align centers vertically so they just shift a little bit so they're perfectly centered. I'm going to hit escape so nothing's selected. And then I'm going to select the single outline border. And I am going to ungroup, so right click and ungroup. Select the border again, copy and paste. So edit, copy, edit, paste. We're going to change it to color number 5, which is red. And then edit, paste. And we're going to change this one to color 3, so green. And while it's selected, we are going to make it a satin outline. And at this point, you should be good to go. Now, this does go right to the maximum of this hoop, so if you do get a "it does not fit" message, you can just select everything and scooch it a little bit further down because it should fit perfectly. But this is the in the hoop card case, so file, save as. And ITH in the hoop is the abbreviation, or ITH is the abbreviation for in the hoop. We're going to go ahead and save that, and let's go over how this stitches out. So with this, she recommends denim for the outside, so she used a 10 by 6 piece. A 10 by 6 piece For the lining, she put a pocket in, so that is a 6 by 6 inch piece pressed in half, and she used medium weight tearaway stabilizer. So she hooped the stabilizer and the fabric and stitched the front. She removed the hoop. She placed the wrong side of the fabric over the stitched outline on the back side, and this is right side out, and you tape it in place. And then the straight edge at the top of the design, you want to place the pocket on the lining fabric a 1/4 inch away from that top line, from the crease, because you crease it right there. The folded edge faces the crease because that's going to be the top of the pocket. Tape it in place. Stitch the tack down stitch, which is a straight stitch, and then stitch the satin stitch around. And you can remove it from the hoop, tear away the stabilizer, and then use duckbill scissors to trim around the border. I did not make this project, but when I see this, what I would try and do is trim my fabric about right before it stitches the satin stitch so that I get a cleaner finish. That might not work because, again, I did not stitch it. Also, I have just learned that although we call these scissors that have the outside edge duckbill scissors, they have a different name. I think they were like pelican scissors. Gina Butler decided that everyone needed to know exactly what they're called. Yeah, they're pelican scissors. They were originally pelican scissors. For some reason, they've gotten to duckbill, except duck's bills don't look like that. So pelican scissors to trim around the edge. You can also use regular scissors. You just have to be careful. Then you fold the case along the straight edge, and you just stitch both edges with a straight stitch with your number 1 foot, most likely with red so that it blends in with your satin stitch. Also to note, I would have matched my top and bottom threads, my bottom thread to my top thread when I stitched this, so that I didn't have the black on the red. And then you have your finished case. Yay! So I hope this was helpful. I hope you've gotten ideas for in the hoop projects. And if you have any questions, please ask. But for now, I will see you around the internet because this is my last software club. So thank you. From Rachel, thank you. Bernina OKC will continue to have software clubs. I just will not be the teacher. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the internet.